What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So, up front, we're not going to have any spoilers here, nothing like that, but over the weekend, there were some devastating leaks, we'll say, for Last of Us Part 2, and it's leaving Sony in a very strange place right now. Sure, they're scrambling around to kind of rip down any videos about these leaks when it comes to actual raw gameplay footage that is just being shared. But Last of Us Part 2, for a lot of people right now, the plot has been badly spoiled, and it's going to be interesting to see how Sony and Naughty Dog respond to this. We're going to go over what's happening there and what you need to look out for online. Also, the Initiative has some big game reveal coming up at some point, and now we have at least a LinkedIn listing that is giving us a bit more of an idea as to what it could be, which is it could be something pretty cool. I think we'll go over that. And then Google Stadia isn't gone yet. I know, but they have an event coming up that could maybe give us something. We'll see, but we'll talk about all of that and more today, guys. As always, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below. And we're going to start today with Animal Crossing. We've been tracking Animal Crossing for what would have been record-breaking sales, right? And it looks like ahead of when we're going to find out from Nintendo, of course, in a week and a half. So next week, we should find out from them straight up the numbers for Animal Crossing. It came back in stock in the UK, and here's the sales charts real quick. It went from 2 to 1, and that's because stock became available in the UK, and sales jumped 53%. Now, some other games from Nintendo that jumped included Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and even Luigi's Mansion 3, but Animal Crossing kind of knocked FIFA out from that top spot and then took over the top spot, specifically because more games became available. That's kind of what we're running into with Animal Crossing. It keeps selling, but it's like limited because of stock. It's crazy to think about that like right now with physical game sales, but yeah, people just want Animal Crossing. They want Switch systems, and unfortunately stock has kind of limited sales for both of them. But one thing's for sure, Animal Crossing has sold a boatload of copies, and we should find out at least some number from Nintendo for the first 10 to 11 days next week. But there's also a chance they just show up and tell investors or just put out something to investors like a press release that's like, hey, yeah, we sold X amount of Animal Crossings, and it's some massive like 15 million unit number or something in like its first month. It'd be crazy, but they could do that just to let investors know how well it's doing. Also, if you are looking for some cheap fun because you're stuck at home and you're looking for a game to grab, PlayStation is running their Big in Japan sale that started just before the weekend, and it's going to be running all the way until May 8th, so you have some time to kind of look through what was a very long list. We're talking hundreds of games that are on sale, and there are some pretty good ones in there to kind of look through. If you want to spend less than $10, you can look at some of the older Final Fantasies, pretty much all of the different Resident Evil games like 4, 5, 6, 0, those are all under $10 as well. Tons of Mega Man Legacy Collection sales also. But if you want to get into some of the more expensive ones, of course, they also have Devil May Cry 5 that's dropped right around $20. Then you also have Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition that has pretty much all of the content there packed in for less than $20, and a lot of things from Bandai Namco as well, and it looks like it's just a ton of stuff to go through. Very large list that they have on their PlayStation blog. I'll have that link below if you want to kind of look through it and see what looks good. Also, anyone out there who wants to know about Deadly Premonition 2, what's going on with it, I have good news for you. It does look like in the next 7 days or so, something is going to happen around this title. Remember, that was the one that surprised everyone. 1, for showing up and existing, and 2, for seemingly being a Nintendo Switch exclusive. I know, it was strange, but you can see this on Twitter here, where Swery actually did a bit of a summary around an IGN Japan interview that they did, and you can see it does say Deadly Premonition 2, something will happen in the next week, so most likely in the next 7 days or so. Now, it could be a trailer that drops, it could be a release date, it could be a press release with just some new information for articles to be written around, but good news, it does look like something at least is going to happen with Deadly Premonition 2, because it's been pretty quiet since its reveal, of course, in the Direct last year, although I guess it's been pretty quiet in general for Nintendo since the last Direct last year, minus, of course, the Mini. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start with this Last of Us Part 2 leak. It is it is something else. Because, of course, Last of Us Part 2 relies heavily on its plot, the ability to surprise, enthrall you, bring you in, and then break you emotionally. And to hear about things that are going to be happening in the game ahead of time will remove some impact, but it will also annoy gamers, and it's just frustrating to see any spoilers for anything you're looking forward to. And for Last of Us Part 2 fans, it's gotta be tough right now, because these leaks and spoilers appear to be absolutely real and correct, and it is devastating right now for fans of this series. Last of Us Part 2, we were close, right? We're less than a month away just about, right? We're very, very close to when it would have been. Gets delayed indefinitely, citing things, mostly economic reasons, they say. They're not 100% sure, I guess, if it will take off the way they want it to, and of course, distribution seems to be a bit iffy to try to move that many Remember, they're not looking to sell like, just 1 million copies. Yay. They're looking for a lot with Last of Us Part 2. So moving it out of that May time slot, or that May date, even though like Xenoblade's still there, but like Xenoblade's not going to sell what Last of Us Part 2 is selling. Last of Us Part 2 cost a lot to make. They need to make sure they get a big shot right away, right out of the gate. So they seem to be moving it, I think, probably to like next to the PS5 launch this holiday. But will they wait that long now? Because what's happened here is it appears that someone who has access to a development kit, or at least a development build of the game, started to just post gameplay videos online. Now, Sony's been scrambling, ripping down these videos, but the damage has been done. People now have been spreading the spoilers to the point where certain websites, I'm not saying who, certain websites are writing articles and speculation and opinion pieces on those spoilers, and they are right there when you jump on a website. It's tough. We don't know when the game's coming out, and some serious plot details are online already. And speculation right now is running rampant as to who is leaking this, because whoever did it is in a lot of trouble. Sony they're gonna come looking for him, because there are a lot of things this could do. This could hurt their sales for a big time game. I mean, think about somebody sees a massive spoiler or plot detail that maybe they don't even agree with. It's supposed to, there are parts in the game, obviously, in Last of Us that are supposed to hit you hard emotionally, and maybe they read it and they're like, well, I don't like that, I'm not buying the game. And it would have been something to actually experience, and maybe it would have hit them differently rather than just reading a line of text, right? Things like that. So Sony probably could cite damages in terms of sales by a developer, or tester, or whoever had access to this build, because some of the images that were posted, they have like the build number in there, they have actual summaries of different chapters, and it definitely looks like someone who would have been testing or developing this game. Now, from the word that's going around, this is a build from February or March, somewhere in there, so it's a few months old, but it doesn't really matter to me how old it is. It really comes down to the details that are being shared. So if you're around the internet and you see a thread on a forum that's like Last of Us Part 2 spoilers discussion, you're like, well, the game's not even dated. How could they have they have spoilers? So, don't click on that. Just walk right by it. And it's tough because on Twitter, you're probably going to see a thread in your timeline that just pops up and it's like, oh, here it is. That's the biggest issue. There's a chance that you'll have to be dodging these spoilers for the next, what could be 6 to 7 months, especially if this game doesn't come out till something like November or even October. It's tough. If you had to dodge them for like 3 weeks, I'd be like, okay, it's going to be tough, but I think we can do it, right? 6 months? So it's going to be interesting to see how Sony and Naughty Dog respond to this. People are already asking, release it digitally. I don't think they will. I don't. I think they're just going to stick it out, and they're going to just go forward and say, well, we're going to do this thing where we're going to keep it out till later on this year so we can do it physically as well. I think it would be cool. I would like to play the game, so yeah, release it digitally, but it's probably not going to happen, unfortunately. So if you're online, be careful. I don't know what to tell you if websites start writing about it and it's right on the front page. I don't know. So hopefully if you're out there and you're a massive Last of Us fan and you've been waiting for this game since the first one came out, back in 2013, hopefully you don't get spoiled. Next up, let's talk about the Initiative. Of course, that's Microsoft's homegrown studio over in California. And they've been pulling in a lot of big time talent from a lot of projects all over the industry, different games that you really, really like they brought in people from Naughty Dog and others. So to hear that the game they could potentially be working on is a fan favorite. It's one of my favorite games from back in the day. It is exciting. And now we get more speculation because we have a LinkedIn posting that seems to discuss the engine possibly being used for this game, and some hints towards it is what we'll say. Now, it was initially posted on Twitter, and this was posted by Clobrel, and it led to a LinkedIn posting for Christopher, and it says a technical designer for the initiative. That was July until February, so it appears that their contract of 8 months is done. But they are an expert in blueprint programming in Unreal Engine 4. So based on that, it does appear anyway that the initiative's game is going to be using Unreal Engine 4, which has some implications we're going to go over in a second. And then you see it says designed and scripted various weapons, gadgets, and a camera surveillance system for an unannounced project. What game would be using gadgets and weapons and all that? Could it be Perfect Dark? That's been the front runner for the initiative to be working on for quite a while. Perfect Dark could really use it, especially after what they did at the launch of the 360 with Perfect Dark Zero. We need a straight up AAA Perfect Dark game that is good. I think that'd be amazing. Unreal Engine 4, by the way, would be a good pickup for them to use like as the engine. Of course, it could scale back to the Xbox One most likely. I'm not gonna tell you it's gonna look great, but they could, and that's something they've been wanting to do. And a lot of times when these developers, these studios use something like Unreal Engine 4, it helps to move the project along much faster than using a custom designed engine. We saw it, of course, with Square, where they were having all these hiccups with the Luminous engine in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and even Kingdom Hearts having issues. They switch over to Unreal Engine 4, and these games start actually coming out, which is a big deal for Square, right? So there are a lot of things to look at here, but based on some of the listing here for LinkedIn, some of the hints we're hearing, I think it's gonna be we're gonna get the reveal with Joanna Dark, popping up. Here's Perfect Dark. It's not gonna be terrible like Perfect Dark Zero, hopefully. And good online multiplayer. There's a lot to like there, so I'm hoping that that's what we're looking at here. But we'll see. Microsoft keeps saying it's going to be soon where we're going to see games, and you know what? I hope the initiative at least has something ready just to give us like a taste of the game they're working on. Next up, let's talk about Google Stadia. Now, I know Google Stadia is, it's Google Stadia, right? But it looks like they're not done just yet. We talked about how they made their service free pretty recently, so at least they don't just have a paid option. In fact, Sensor Tower did tell us that after they made it free, it saw a spike in installs, and it looks like they're over at least 1 million now, and I guess an install would most likely just be a sign up, and they count it at that point since you don't really install anything. But the fact that they drew significant interest after making it free tells you they probably should have launched with the free service alongside of the paid pro service. Most likely people would have been way more interested at the time to check it out, rather than have to pay $130 to check it out, right? So to hear that they have a Stadia Connect tomorrow, which they announced that here on Twitter, it says on YouTube to hear from the team and see a few new games coming to Stadia. That will be at 9 a.m. Pacific or noon Eastern. I will be checking this out, but I'm not expecting anything groundbreaking, mostly because their studios probably won't be ready. Like, they formed a studio, like when they announced Stadia, and at that point I said, okay, great, we'll see you in 3 years. That was kind of it at that point, right? So I don't expect anything massive there, but you could see some third parties, some timed exclusives. Those are the things that I'm looking for. Just, again, a reason for people to sign up. I think it would be a good idea if they could pull in Fortnite and have something free to play overall. Like, you use Stadia to play Fortnite, and then of course there's V-Bucks and all that stuff, microtransactions essentially. But something like that at least would go a long way to get Stadia more active users. Like, that's really what they need, are people that continue to sign in, and a free-to-play game like Fortnite, I mean, let's be honest, would probably help. So something like that would be good, and then just some third-party timed exclusives could also help them at least a little bit. Again, Stadia has fallen quite far down the list for me when it comes to these services that I'm interested in even checking up on, but I'll give them tomorrow and we'll see what happens. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a pretty cool application from NVIDIA that is now out, and you can check out if you have the right GPU, specifically newer ones from them, their RTX line, although I have heard from people that there are modifications that will allow the GTX line to work. I haven't tested that myself, but I did check it out on a 2070 Super, and The results surprised me. Now, this is RTX Voice from NVIDIA. It's pretty much an application for your PC that works as a filter using tensor cores in your video card and AI to work out any background noise. And it's pretty advanced, I must say. It also works not only through your microphone, but also incoming sound. I accidentally left it on and watched some YouTube videos, and it completely removed any of the background music that they were playing. It was really weird because there were these long pauses of silence, and I was like, what's going on? Oh yeah, I left RTX Voice on. I turned it off, and the background music jumped right on. I actually checked out Sean's video and posted an example on Twitter so you can see what I'm talking about, and it's shockingly good, but it is still in beta, and I have noticed some degradation if there is just ridiculous amounts of background noise blown right at the microphone. But like for like the smaller stuff that isn't too bad, it's like you're just in a silent room. It's really, really cool. So I mean, it's just a neat thing to have from NVIDIA. I like to see the tensor cores being used for something outside of just ray tracing, right? It's a cool thing. And it also makes me wonder if AMD will have something similar to this or something they've worked on with Sony for the audio side. Because keep in mind, Sony's adding in a microphone on that PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. So if they have something like this, some kind of noise gate that actually uses AI and everything to filter out any background noise, that would go a long way to help out with talking through the microphone when you're in a game. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This one is from T. Fernbench saying, to be honest, the Joy-Cons and the Switch in general have such a potential for visual presentation. It's a shame Nintendo hasn't made more use of it. And you know what? I mean, let's just be real about this. Nintendo, I think, dropped the ball when it comes to their Joy-Con controllers, like the different editions they could do. They could have done all kinds of stuff. What they probably should have done, like occasionally they'll announce a new color. Any of these big releases, they should have just released Joy-Con controllers separately as special editions just for that game, especially if it's not a big enough game to warrant like a console special edition. Like Joy-Con releases alongside of it, like that's just like printing money, right? Like you're like Luigi's Mansion 3 had those green Joy-Cons that was like Best Buy kind of exclusive. Those should have been everywhere. They should have Luigi on the front. They should have a little graphic of him walking like around the Joy-Cons on the front. And it should have been Luigi's Mansion themed. That should have been all over the place, and it should be like that for a lot of their games coming out. Like this Mario anniversary thing that we've heard about for rumors, that turns out to be correct. There better be some Mario Joy-Cons, right? That's what I would expect. So yeah, I almost think that at this point, Nintendo should have special edition Joy-Cons, even if it's like considered like a B tier game. Like Kirby should have Joy-Cons, right? If it's not going to get a console, give it some Joy-Cons. It seems weird that Nintendo drops the ball on something that, like I said, printing money. And ladies and gentlemen, let's go do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether there's the devastating leak for Last of Us Part 2. Please don't leave any spoilers or anything down below, but let me know what you think about this. And what does Sony, what does Sony and Naughty Dog do now? Because like some key plot details are just out there along with video representation of some of it. And you're gonna wait until the end of the year to release this thing? That's tough on the fans, definitely. Also, what do you think about the initiative and this game that they're working on? Is it Perfect Dark, or did you look at that LinkedIn listing and think of something else completely? And Stadia, do they have a shot tomorrow? Let me know, guys, down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.